What's up, everybody? The title of today's video might seem a bit unusual, the danger of quality companies, because I'm sure you think, well, a quality company, isn't that what we want to buy? Isn't that what we're looking for? And it's true, if I can find a high quality company with great growth that's trading at a great price, then I get excited. I own several companies in my portfolio that I would consider high quality, but I own a number of companies that I would consider average quality, or maybe a little bit above, maybe a little bit below. And I also own some companies that I would consider to be low quality. And that's because, just to use a quote from Howard Marks, investing is not about buying good companies, it's about buying companies well. For most companies, there is some low enough price at which they would become an excellent investment, even for a low quality business. And for every company, regardless of how good it is, how high quality of a company it is, there is a price that is too expensive, at which it would be a horrible investment. Now, quality, maybe we should define what we're talking about. Typically, when we say a high quality company, we're looking at a business with a huge competitive advantage. Maybe they have a wide moat, they have high return on invested capital, higher margins than their peers. And those are all great things to look for. Those are great things to find in a business. However, if you focus on that without also considering price as well, you're going to get burned. We always have to think about how much are we paying for this business. I've seen some YouTubers even make videos titled things like why valuation doesn't matter. Now, I would agree, just looking at something like price to earnings by itself is certainly not going to tell you whether a company is a buy or not. There's a number of things we're going to want to look at when we're analyzing any business. But no matter what, one thing we always will have to consider is how much we are paying. And you're going to have to look at either price to earnings or enterprise value to operating income or free cash flow yield, some valuation metric. You can look at all of them. I always say there is no single metric or number that can capture the whole story of a company, but ultimately valuation has to play a role in our decision making. If you're picking stocks without ever seriously looking at valuation, I don't think it's going to end well. If you're only laser focused on quality, you might buy a company like FICO, and I'm going to use it today as an example. I'm not saying I think FICO is a bad stock or that you should go and sell FICO, nothing like that at all. This might be a great investment going forward. It certainly has been in the past, but I'm going to give you my perspective. I want to share my thought process because I think it's a little bit different than what you hear on other channels. As always, if you get value out of the video, subscribe. Now, let's jump into it. FICO or Fair Isaac is a company that most people, at least if you live in the US, are familiar with. If you want to get your credit score, you're taking out some big loan, something like that, and someone wants to run a credit report on you, then there are three major credit bureaus. There's Equifax, there's Experian, and there's TransUnion. And they all collect data, but they license FICO's model to generate a FICO score, which is basically just a measure of creditworthiness, how likely you are to repay your debts. Now, there are some other lines of their business. They work with financial institutions to detect fraud. It's really in this credit score side, especially as it relates to mortgages, where they've basically had a monopoly. When you look at this company, it checks all the boxes for a high quality business. They're better than a market leader, practical monopoly. Operating margins are incredible. Right now, about 45%, but they've been going up over the past decade. Consistent growth on the top line, very high returns on invested capital. So you like the company, you want to buy it, and you even check that it's a reasonable price. You're not someone who just thinks valuations don't matter. So you look and you say, top line's been growing, high single digits. It looks like it's been even accelerating a bit recently. Let's assume 10% growth on the top line going forward for the next 5 years. Margins have been expanding. Let's even assume that they continue expanding. We maybe are a little rosy in our assumptions. We assume that operating margins get up to 50%. We assume they're giving some of their free cash flow back to us shareholders. And after 5 years, we decide, 40 times multiple seems reasonable. This is such a high quality company. Let's give them a nice big multiple like this. And you look and you say, hey, I'm getting a 10% annualized return every year for 5 years. Maybe you decide that's pretty good in this market. And it's a very high quality company that you want to own. If you think you're getting a reasonable price, then, why not just buy it? Well, when I look at a company like this, I'm asking myself, what is the risk? Because there is always risk, no matter what stock we're buying. If you say deep value stocks are risky, I would agree with you. It's just, I also think that high quality stocks and any individual stock you're looking at in the market is likely very risky. The fact of the matter is, we cannot avoid risk. All you get to do is choose which risks you get to be exposed to. Now, specifically, when I look at FICO, I see a company that has been able to improve their margins immensely over the past 5 years because they just keep on increasing the price of their FICO scores. Why have they been able to do that? Well, they've almost had a monopoly in mortgages. For most people, their mortgage is the biggest loan they're ever going to have to worry about. And for most people, that mortgage is ultimately going to be bought up by Fannie or Freddie, which are government enterprises. You might think your mortgage is with, Rocket or whoever your lender is, but your lender has probably bundled up your mortgage and resold it to Fannie and Freddie. And guess what? Fannie and Freddie require FICO scores. Well, that sounds great if we're an investor in FICO. What's wrong with that? Well, it was announced earlier this year that Fannie and Freddie, these big government agencies, they're going to start accepting VantageScore, which is a FICO score alternative. VantageScore is owned by the credit bureaus themselves, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. They created VantageScore essentially because they were tired of paying Fair Isaac just to use their model. This is a threat to FICO's monopoly here. And when I just take a step back and think about, 5 years, 10 years from now, why should FICO have a monopoly here? The credit bureaus, they're the ones with the data. Nowadays, anyone with great data can probably run that through some algorithm, maybe with the help of AI, and comes up with some number that is probably a good representative of risk to the lender. FICO's true advantage, it seems, is that it has been the score that has been the default that has been supported by basically a government-imposed monopoly. So coming down here to our assumptions about the future, remember, assumptions, they're numbers that we put in that represent an actual story, a point of view of what we think the future of this business is. Even if I assume the stock still keeps growing 10% on the top line, if their operating margins don't even shrink, they just stop expanding. They stop expanding at 45%, which is an insanely high number still. And I just give them a 30 times multiple, which is the market reflecting a little more risk here. And by the way, this multiple is essentially in line with the average of where they've been over the past decade. Well, now with these assumptions, you are essentially flat on your money over 5 years, and we haven't even really gotten into a pessimistic bear scenario. If FICO truly had to compete on price with VantageScore, I think it's unlikely that they would retain 45% operating margins. I'm not saying this will happen, but if operating margins pulled back, to something like 35%, which again would still be insane margins, and they trade it for, a 25 times multiple, you are down 7% on your money every year for 5 years. And I should just point out, we're still assuming 10% growth on the top line, which is great, and giving them a 25 times multiple, which yes, is a significant cutback from where they are now, but they've traded below a 25 times multiple many, many times, even in the past decade. Now, again, I'm not saying that FICO is going to be a bad investment. Maybe VantageScore will never really be competition to FICO. Maybe they'll continue having a monopoly for many, many years to come, and FICO is a great buy here today. I don't know. All I'm saying is, just because it's a quality company, just because this company checks every single box you could possibly think of for a quality business, doesn't mean there's no risk. In fact, it doesn't even mean it has lower risk. The risk is lower here than with, some deep value stock, because the risk also is relative to the valuation. Just think, if you could snap your fingers and FICO stock was $400 today and they were basically trading at, a 10 times multiple, would the risk be the same or would it have decreased massively? If nothing has changed, it's obvious that with a lower price, this stock would be lower risk. Now, part of the reason I'm making this video is I had a great question on a recent video that I posted. Luke asked, general question for you. What makes you seemingly favor deep value plays in okay companies over reasonable prices for top tier quality companies? When I say top tier, I mean companies like Alphabet, Microsoft, FICO, MasterCard, Visa, S&P Global, Moody's, ASML, MSCI. Not saying they're necessarily at reasonable prices today, or do a bit of both. It's a great question, and the heart of what I'm getting at in this video is my North Star. What I focus on more than anything else is excellent risk reward. I think you can find that in high quality companies, but I also think you can find that in mid quality and even low quality businesses. And that might not be a popular opinion here. Out of the thousands of stocks that we can invest in the stock market, there are really only a handful that I think are truly high quality businesses. If you want to limit your investing universe to just those companies, that's fine. I'm not here to convince anyone to sell their stocks or buy the stocks that I like, nothing like that. I'm just giving you my opinion. And in my opinion, if we limit our universe to that small segment of companies that we consider high quality, then I think we likely are going to miss out on tons of other companies with excellent risk reward. If I had to invest in a company for, let's say, 5 years, and I was choosing between, Global Ship Lease, which is trading for roughly 3 times forward earnings, or Nomad Foods, which is trading for, about 6-ish times forward earnings, PayPal, which is trading, 13-ish times forward earnings, or MasterCard, which is trading for 30-something times forward earnings. If I was trying to figure out which of these stocks is a better buy over 5 years, which of these companies has less risk to hold over 5 years, the answer is, I don't know, just from looking at the quality. These are all companies I've talked about on the channel before. Global Ship Lease, very low quality business, no moat at all. They lease out their container ships. They're making a massive amount of money right now. They have a lot of forward contracts, so they have revenue and cash flow visibility for the next couple years. But if shipping rates drop, then that could all change when they have to renew their contracts. Nomad Foods, I would say that this is a below average quality company. They have a decent amount of debt, very little moat. They are the market leader in European frozen food, but still, I would say below average company. PayPal, I would say average quality company, maybe average to slightly above average. And MasterCard, obviously in terms of quality, the undisputed winner here. By the way, the site I'm using here is pevaluator.com. I am not sponsored or affiliated with them in any way, but they did give me a free account. I appreciate people that give me access to their tools. So if you want to check them out, pevaluator.com. Again, not affiliated. This is not an ad. Just wanted to give them a shout out for giving me free access here. Now, back to these choices, not only can I not determine which stock is the better buy just by looking at quality, I can't even determine which stock is higher risk. If you're more comfortable just owning companies like MasterCard, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't mean that the company is lower risk. Our thoughts on risk are going to be dependent on our assumptions about the future and the price that we're paying today. What do you think credit card payments are going to be like 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now? Do you think credit card companies will still have take rates of, about 3% when there are tons of cheaper payment processors around? Maybe, I'm not sure. But when you're paying up for a company like this and you see a chart that's basically just up and to the right, it is easy to get lulled into this false sense of security that risk is lower here. You might look at a chart for Nomad Foods and say, that looks really risky. And then look at the chart for something like Costco and think, risk is way lower here. Now, maybe some people would not consider Costco a high quality business. Their operating margin is in the high single digits. But for me, I compare them to their peers. Costco has very high margins actually relative to their competitors. Significantly higher return on invested capital. Unless we only want to invest in tech companies, I certainly would consider a company like Costco to be high quality. Given that it is trading for a 50 times multiple and it has growth in, maybe the high single digits, you can probably guess what I think about the risk here. And this brings me to maybe one of my final points, which is just that the companies we think of as high quality today can change faster than many investors might think. We see here the largest companies today were in general not the largest companies 10 years ago, and the companies 10 years before that were different from those. The biggest companies change all the time, and also companies we think of as high quality, 10, 20 years ago, Intel would have been considered extremely high quality. Very high margins, good return on invested capital, incredible moat, dominant market share of CPUs. Whatever metrics Luke or anyone else is looking at to determine a high quality business, I guarantee Intel would have checked all those boxes. And the companies we would pick as high quality today, some of those companies are going to be less dominant 10 years from now than they are today. Some of them might even be an Intel, where they go from being a market leader to struggling to catch up. I know it's hard to imagine that now. We always feel like the companies that are giants in this moment are going to remain that way forever, but it just isn't the case. So to sum up, all things equal, do I want to own high quality businesses? Yes, I do. If I could buy companies like Visa for the price of PayPal, I certainly would. When I look at my portfolio, some companies are high quality, like Google, Amazon. I have companies that are maybe above average quality, like Evolution Gaming. I'd probably put Elevance and UNH in there as well. While they have lower margins, relative to the sector, these are the high quality names. I own average quality companies like PayPal, StoneCo, and yes, I own low quality businesses, like, for example, the small cap oil producers I talk about. No moat, low quality. Global Ship Lease, low quality company. It doesn't mean we can't make a lot of money on these names just because they're low quality. And to say it again, just to drive it home, just because a company is high quality does not mean it's lower risk than these low quality businesses. So with that said, I think I'll wrap it up here for today. If you got value out of the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want, consider supporting me on Patreon. And if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, leave that down in the comments below. And as always, I hope to see you all in another video.